Sergei Brylin, aka Sarge, is going to become the second person to be inducted into the Devils' Ring of Honor. It is an achievement that he rightfully deserves. And we have an update regarding Nico Hischier and some other line combinations for the Devils in their next game against the Detroit Red Wings. We have a lot to talk about in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. It is game day for the New Jersey Devils as they are set to play against the Detroit Red Wings in the Motor City. In today's episode, we're going to give an update regarding Nico Hischier because unfortunately, it is not good news. No setbacks or anything, but we're going to have to wait before we can see his highly anticipated return to action. Then in the second segment, we are going to salute the Sarge. Sergei Brylin is going to become the second person to be inducted to the Devils' Ring of Honor. It's been a long time coming. He definitely deserves recognition. He is the epitome of what Devils hockey is all about. He's played his entire career with the Devils organization. He's been a part of all 3 Stanley Cup championships, so he definitely deserves it. So we're going to give him some acknowledgement in segment 2. And then the third and final segment, like I said, game day for the Devils. We're going to see what they're possibly going to roll with in the game against the Red Wings. So let's start off with Nico Hischier because it was recently revealed that Hischier will travel with the team. However, he will not play in the game against the Red Wings. So I'm sure a lot of people are disappointed to hear that news because obviously the past few days, Hischier has been practicing with the team. It's his first time practicing with the team since his injury a few weeks ago. He's been steadily trying to improve and try to come back into the lineup because it's very clear that the Devils need their captain back because they got Jack Hughes, the franchise piece. Now they need their leader back onto the rink if they want to turn this season around early while they still got the chance. But before I give my thoughts on the matter, I want to play you guys some sound bites courtesy of Nathan Bastian and Jesper Bratt as they talk about Hischier's impact because once again, he is traveling with the team and there might be a new mentality within the Devils locker room with Hischier present. Check it out.
Bats, obviously the last 2 games having Nico back must be encouraging, exciting. I mean, what is something like him just being back in that day-to-day grind with you guys, what does that do for him?
Especially a guy like that, it does a ton. Obviously we lean on him so much on the ice and missing him, that's a big hole in our lineup that's gone. So biggest part of him being back is we're just happy he's feeling well and he's feeling better. And when you're not a part of the team, things can get pretty lonely. So we're really excited for him to be on the plane with us.
We talk so much about when a player like, let's say Jack was out of the lineup, that creativity that he brings. Nico brings a different type of creativity, a different type of play. And I feel like we really can't underestimate what type of a loss that is overall to a team, right?
Yeah, his game is probably every single aspect of his game is underrated. I think he's grown so much as a player, and we know the kind of person he is. And speaking again, on the ice is one thing, but just not having him really around the guys and everything off the ice, again, it's such a hole in our lineup.
And what is he kind of like? I guess that's not the question. More like when you have a captain like that, when he is around, he's not necessarily the most vocal guy, but is it a follow by example? Like, what does that do for a room, just having a presence like that?
It is a follow by example. You're right, he's not the loudest guy in the room. We definitely have louder guys, and on the ice, like in all situations, when you talk on leaning on a guy, whether it's the start of the game, whether it's 5-on-4, whether it's a power play, whether it's 3-on-3 overtime, like there's a guy you look down to the bench, and when he's not there, it makes it a lot harder on us. So not to put too much pressure on him or anything like that coming back, but can't stress enough how excited we are.
It must be so great just 2 days in a row, have him back, being in the locker room, just that we underestimate how important it is to just have someone like that around on the day-to-day grind, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, Nico is obviously such a big part of the team and the organization, and and as a friend for me too. So obviously seeing him out there and practicing with us and being around us is awesome and brings a smile on your face.
So here are my thoughts on the matter. I wrote down 3 things. One, Hischier will be back. And I put it out on the X app saying that Hischier might be cleared to practice, but he might not be ready to suit up in a game quite yet. So we got to be patient with it. And in yesterday's episode, I was set like fingers crossed that the second practice goes well. So that way Hischier can say like he's ready to go and play in the game, because according to Ryan Novozinski of NJ.com, it is pretty much up to Hischier as to whether or not if he's ready to play, which leads me to believe that maybe Hischier is dealing with some sort of head injury, presumably a concussion, but I'm not a doctor, and that's pure speculation on my end. But the point I'm just trying to make is that Hischier will be back sooner rather than later. And now, the second thing that I want to talk about is his impact. Yes, he will not be on the rink, but the fact that he is traveling with the team to Detroit, I think there's definitely going to be a new sense of urgency for the Devils, despite him not putting on the skates. Because the thing is that Hischier is obviously the leader of this team. And I think that's been lacking the last few weeks for Devils, because without their captain, it seems like there's no sense of direction. And obviously, the system is built around Hischier and Hughes. Now, getting Hischier back onto the rink and also just him traveling with the team in general, if you look back on those sound bites between Bastian and Bratt, it's quite clear that there's just some sort of new energy within the Devils dressing room, knowing that their captain is back and he's set to return. So I still think the impact is going to be there. It's just not going to come on the rink. So I'm excited to see what the Devils can potentially roll with in the game against the Red Wings. And then the third thing I want to talk about, and I can't reiterate this enough, take your time. Because the thing about Hischier is that I think this is either the second or maybe third head injury he's dealt with in his young career. And head injuries are no joke. Very serious matter. So I'm glad that the Devils are taking their sweet time. And if Hischier says he's not ready to go, then I will take his word for it. It's a long-term investment, and it's still very early in the season. The Devils still haven't played a quarter of their game. So I know people are itching and yearning for Hischier to get back onto the rink, and trust me, I'm no exception to the matter. But the thing is like I said it in yesterday's episode, your second concussion is always worse than your first one. Once again, I'm presuming that Hischier was dealing with a concussion-like symptom, which is why he's been out for this significant time and why it might be in his hands as to whether or not he thinks he's good to go or not. Because I would much rather Hischier be 100% ready to go, fully recovered from his upper body injury, presumably his head, and be back to full strength versus he's at like 90%. He suffers another head injury. He's out for the season. Then his career, quite honestly, I've seen this happen in sports before. His career is in jeopardy the rest of the way. So I know that's like extreme thinking, but once again, head injuries are no joke. So I'm glad that Hischier is taking his time. So I want everyone to just take a deep breath. The captain will make his return sooner rather than later. Is it going to be against the Columbus Blue Jackets? Is it going to be against the Buffalo Sabres after American Thanksgiving? I really don't know. But what I do know is that Hischier is also wanting to get back onto the rink and make an impact with his team. And I think he's going to do it on this road trip to Detroit. So let's not freak out. And remember, good things come to those who wait. But let's transition from the captain to the Sarge, because we need to talk about Sergei Brylin. But before we continue, I want to tell you guys about eBay Motors. So passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Okay, so like I said moments ago, we're transitioning from the captain to the Sarge because we need to acknowledge Sergei Brylin, because he's going to become the second person to be inducted into the Devils' Ring of Honor. And I have some information courtesy of the Devils PR team. So once again, Brylin is now the second inductee into the Ring of Honor. Brylin now joins Dr. John McMullen, the Devils' first owner, who brought the team to New Jersey from Colorado. McMullen was the club's inaugural inductee in January 2017. Additionally, the organization will be forming a Ring of Honor committee, which will meet to discuss and help decide future honorees. The committee includes all 5 players who have their numbers retired by the Devils organization. So Scott Stevens, Ken Danico, Scott Niedermayer, Martin Brodeur, Patrick Elias, the 2 Ring of Honor inductees, Peter McMullen on behalf of the McMullen family and Brylin, and select media team executives each year. So the one thing that I could say about Sergei Brylin is that he is the epitome of what Devils hockey is all about, because I have some other notes in regards to his playing career. So he made his NHL debut on February 17th, 1995, and he spent his entire 13-year career playing for the Devils from 1994-1995 through 2007-2008. He totaled 765 regular season games, which ranks 10th in franchise history. He is one of 5 players to win 3 Stanley Cup championships with New Jersey, so 1995, 2000, and 2003, joining Martin Brodeur, Ken Danico, Scott Niedermayer, and Scott Stevens in that accomplishment. He has totaled 129 goals and 179 assists for 308 points over his NHL career, with career highs across the board in goals 23, assists 29, assists and points 52 in the 2000-2001 season. As a part of his many achievements, Brylin had an Ironman streak of 328 games, playing in all games from 2003-2004 through 2007-2008. The run of games from October 8th, 2003 to April 6th, 2008, which also marks the 3rd longest consecutive stretch in franchise history. Additionally, he earned 15 goals and 19 assists for 34 points in 109 career Stanley Cup playoff games. He ended his NHL career after the 2007-2008 season and retired following the 2011-2012 season after playing some years in the KHL. Another thing that I think is worth noting about Brylin is that he is still very much involved with the Devils organization. As we all know, he is one of the Devils' assistant coaches. Brylin was promoted to the assistant coach for the Devils in August 2022. I remember making an episode about that. Prior to the 2022-2023 season, the 49-year-old served as an assistant coach and an associate coach for the Devils' AHL affiliates for 9 seasons in Albany, Binghamton, and Utica. In 2021-2022, Brylin helped lead the Comets to a North Division title and the best record in the Eastern Conference. Utica also set an AHL record after it began the 2021-2022 campaign with 13 consecutive wins. So I think Brylin knows a thing or two about conducting win streaks. Also speaking to some of the young players like Alexander Holtz and Kevin Ball, who are under his guidance and tutelage while he was in the AHL alongside with them. I think another thing that a lot of people appreciate from Brylin is that he knew how to deliver in the clutch, because his first and only goal during the Cup final in 1995 was the last goal in Game 4 that solidified the Devils' first Stanley Cup championship in franchise history. And also, let's talk about 2000, because he knew how to play different roles. So he was assigned to play on the same line as Jay Pandolfo and also John Madden. And that was the shutdown line against the Dallas Stars. And worth mentioning that the Stars were the defending champions in 2000. So the fact that Pandolfo and Madden and also Brylin were just the shutdown line for the Devils and just negating any of the Dallas Stars' top players, once again, the defending champs that helped give the Devils their second Stanley Cup in 5 years. I think that really shows what Brylin was like as a player. So once again, all the stats I just listed doesn't do him justice, because he was also a very clutch player, especially during the playoffs. The 3 things that I can think of for Brylin was that he obviously had longevity, because it's not only what he's done as a player, but also as a coach, because after he was done playing with the Devils, he was still very much involved in the organization. And I just listed that he's been in the AHL program for the Devils for many years, when they were in Albany, Binghamton, and now obviously Utica. And now he's in the NHL as one of the Devils' assistant coaches under Lindy Ruff. So similar to like Ken Danico, Scott Stevens, Martin Brodeur, once they retired from the Devils' organization, they were still very much a part of the team. years afterwards, because we saw Scott Stevens become an assistant coach with the Devils, later became a head coach, and then Martin Brodeur is still involved in the front office. Ken Danico, he's the color commentator with Bill Spalding on MSG. And then for Sergei Brylin, he's one of the assistant coaches, like I just said. So the longevity of him being a part of the Devils organization, I think speaks a lot of volume to a lot of the fan base. And then he was a very versatile player, because I talked about how he and Pandolfo and Madden played on the same line to shut down the Dallas Stars. Well, Brylin was willing to play either center or wing, so it shows how much tools he had in his repertoire. And I think a big thing that a lot of people appreciate from Brylin was that he was just ultimately a team player. He was never about himself, and he never really got the credit that I think he deserved, because when people think about the Devils' dynasty of winning 3 Stanley Cups in a very short amount of time, because like I said, they got 2 Stanley Cups in just a 5-year span, and then 3 years later, they got another one. So when you think of those cups, obviously you think of Patrick Elias, even though Patrick Elias was only a part of 2 of those 3 cups. You think of Scott Stevens, you think of Martin Brodeur, you think of Scott Niedermayer, but you don't really think of Sergei Brylin, or at least the casual NHL fan doesn't think about Sergei. But the fact that he wasn't all about himself, he had this Iron Man streak, he was willing to go beyond the call of duty for the fan base. I really think that's what resonates with most Devils fans. And Tyler Blusinski of SB Nation put this out on the X app. He said, Sarge epitomized what Devils hockey was when the team won those cups. He played whatever role was necessary. 4th line, penalty kill, shotgun with Scott Gomez, and also Alex Mogilny. He's the beauty of self-sacrificing hockey for so much more. And the Devils, they just put out a nice tribute for Brylin. Apparently this took place about a week or 2 ago, but it finally became available to the public. Lindy Ruff was doing a film session, and then towards the end of that film session, he showed some highlights of Brylin playing for the Devils, basically some of his best offensive moments. And then Tom Fitzgerald later revealed that Brylin was going to be inducted into the Devils' Ring of Honor. And the one thing that I took note of from that video is that it was very emotional, because you saw a lot of the players just smiling ear to ear. You saw Brylin, he looked like he was choked up with a little bit. You saw a lot of people on social media, on the Devils discourse, basically just showing a lot of love to Sarge, because once again, even though he doesn't have his number retired at the Prudential Center, you don't think of Devils hockey and not think of Sergei Brylin. So to the Sarge, thank you for your years of great service for the Devils organization. Thank you for continuing to do what you do even after your playing careers. Thank you for what you've done for some of the young players. Thank you for what you've done while playing to help the team win those Stanley Cups. Thank you for, once again, just coming up clutch in big playoff moments. And once again, I know I'm just only scratching the surface, but to Sergei Brylin, this is an honor that you rightfully deserve. So congratulations. And now we're going to transition to the current Devils and talk about their upcoming game against the Detroit Red Wings and what Lindy Ruff might be rolling out. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Game Time. So if you're in the Detroit area, you might want to get the Game Time app, so that way you can watch the Devils play up close and personal. So you shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to your next big event, because once again, Game Time app is here to help. So last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsor deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, so before we talk about this current Devils team, let's talk about a former Devils player who was projected to play in the game on Friday, which would symbolize his first return to the Prudential Center since being a part of a new organization, and that is Damon Severson, because we have some bad news in regards to Damon Severson. So it was revealed that the defenseman is going to be out for about 6 weeks with an oblique injury that he sustained in one of the more recent games for the Blue Jackets. And I took the liberty of posting this on the X app. I said, fun fact, while playing for the Devils dating back to the 2015-2016 season, Damon Severson suited up in 596 out of 617 potential games. Tough break for Columbus. So I guess we're going to have to wait until next season until we see that Damon Severson video tribute, because looking at the schedule, I think the Devils will play the Columbus Blue Jackets at the Prudential Center one more time in January. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but it's during that span in which Severson will be out. So once again, I think the Devils will play Severson when they travel to Nationwide Arena to take on the Blue Jackets. But for the time being, people are going to have to wait for Severson to make his long-awaited return to the Prudential Center. So best wishes to Severson. Not really off to the great start to his Blue Jackets tenure, but I'm hoping for the best. Now, let's transition to the current Devils, because let's see what they've been rolling out at one of their more recent practices. So on the top line, you got Erik Haula, Jack Hughes, Curtis Lazar. Second line, Tyler Toffoli, Dawson Mercer, Jesper Bratt. Third line, Andre Palat, Michael McLeod, Alexander Holtz. Third line, Max Willman, Nico Hischier, then Nathan Bastian. Then on the defensive pairing, Jonas Siegenthaler, Dougie Hamilton, Kevin Ball, John Marino, Luke Hughes, Colin Miller, Brendan Smith, being used as an extra defenseman. And then your goaltending tandem, obviously Vanecek and Schmid. Okay, so let's highlight a couple things before we get out of here. So that top line of Erik Haula, Jack Hughes, and Curtis Lazar. Now, we've seen the chemistry work between Haula and Hughes in the past before. It was one of the reasons why Hughes was able to have such a successful season last year, because Haula took some of the pressure off of Hughes' shoulder. But if you were to tell me that Curtis Lazar would be a top 6 player and he would be playing on the Jack Hughes line, I would be like, you need to give me the number to your dealer. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying that joke. But anyway, what I'm just trying to say is that Curtis Lazar on the top line with Jack Hughes, it's not something that I foresaw, but for some reason, it's working for the Devils. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And we're obviously seeing Curtis Lazar being a lot more offensively involved with the Devils. So I think once again, if it's working for them, stick to it. And I think that's an interesting dynamic, because with Hughes, you obviously have someone who is very offensive centric. And then for Erik Haula and Curtis Lazar, they obviously know how to do a bit of defense. They're kind of, I guess you can label Lazar as a two-way player, because he has scored, 3 goals in his last 7 games. So I think that's something to definitely take note of. And then obviously we got Max Willman into the lineup. I think Willman has been doing a pretty decent job with the Devils. He's been holding his own, but a lot of people are wondering, why is Hischier playing on the 4th line? Well, Amanda Stein basically speculated and clarified, saying that, they're trying to take it very easy with Hischier. And in case something doesn't really go well with him during practice, it's not really going to come back to bite the Devils when they take on the Red Wings. So they were basically preparing for Hischier not to play in the game against the Red Wings. So you don't want Hischier practicing on the top few lines if they're not going to use him in the next game. So once again, that's pure speculation. I'm just clarifying as to what Amanda Stein put out there, but just something to take note of. And I guess it's a clear indicator that Hischier was not ready to play, but he will make his return sooner rather than later, like I said in segment 1. And now the defensive pairing. I think we're finally going to see Brendan Smith be a healthy scratch, and basically Luke and Colin, they are manning the bottom 4 defensive pairing. So I'm really excited to see what Colin Miller can continue to do with the Devils, because apparently when he was out with an injury, he was studying the Devils system. And it was very clear during the preseason that he didn't look the most comfortable out there. But the fact that he's just trying to work on his game a little bit more, and that he has adjusted to the system so fast, I think it's going to do wonders for Luke Hughes, especially since Luke is trying to put up more point totals. So that way he could possibly upset Connor Bedard for the Calder. Most likely not going to happen, but still, I'm excited to see what the Devils can roll out in the next game against the Red Wings, because I think this is once again a winnable game for New Jersey. In fact, the next few games are very winnable. So they got the Red Wings, then they got the Blue Jackets, and then they got the Sabres. So I think for New Jersey, if they just play their game and they just try to make sure that they don't give their opposition any momentum, then I think we can definitely see the goalie stats improve for Schmid and also Vanecek. And then I think we can also see Jack Hughes get more points onto the board, because it seems like he hasn't skipped a beat. And then you can just try to make up for the absence of Nico Hischier and Timo Meier, because I don't know what the update is on Timo, but Lindy did reveal a few days ago that he doesn't anticipate for Timo to make the road trip with the Devils. So I'm going to stick to that. But ultimately, guys, I'm excited to see what the Devils can do within the next few games. I think these are winnable for them. So we'll see what happens. Don't want to jinx anything, but that's about going to do it for today's episode. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below. If you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. What is your favorite memory of Sergei Brylin? And what do you think about the Devils' next upcoming games? Do you think that the Devils are going to finally get back to their winning ways? Are they going to improve their record in the Metropolitan Division? Curious to your guys' thoughts. So once again, that's the whole time I have for you. So continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again. And I will be credentialed for the games Friday and Saturday because I'll be back on the East Coast. And if you see me at the Prudential Center, don't be afraid to come by and say hi. More details coming out soon. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next episode once again.